And we'll begin this morning by lighting of our unity candle. Lighting this candle reminds us that that flame of the divine, that spark of life that's in each and every one of us, is where we meet that divine in all. And so as we bring our lights together in spiritual community, we shine brighter and we encourage each other. Join me in consciousness as we move into an opening prayer. Breathing, we recognize that God is all there is. And turning within, we know this is the space and the place where we wholly meet that divine presence, that infinite intelligence, that being that is the very life of each and every one of us. And as we turn our attention to that power that's greater than we are, that lives in us, as us, and through us, we open our heart and we open our mind to receive the message that is meant for us today. And so I bless this time. I bless each one of us that we are open and receptive, and that through this experience of being in community together, we are encouraged to move out and to share all that we have received with the world around us. So I bless our time. I know it is sacred and it is perfect. And I release this word into that universal law that always says yes. We seal it by saying, and so it is. Well, good morning. Welcome. I'm Reverend Rick McCollum. I am the spiritual director, and I am going to share a slide with you to just remind all of us that as we come together as a spiritual community that honors all paths to the divine. We recognize that there are many ways to have a relationship with the God of your understanding. So as we gather together, we want you to know that wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you're welcome here with us. So I'm glad you're with us today. I'll also just ask you to keep in mind this graphic because it shows people on the various spiritual paths. And later in my talk, I'll be talking about a spoke of a wheel. So this also gives you that visual of that all the different spokes of the wheel, each being our unique path that we take to find the divine. And now we'll move to our opening song, and that is We Welcome You, Spirit by Kai.
We welcome you, Spirit, as we gather here to love one another in ways you make clear. We lift up our hearts in joy and open our minds. We welcome you, Spirit, in this holy time. We welcome you, Spirit, as we gather here to love one another in ways you make clear. We lift up our hearts in joy and open our minds. We welcome you, Spirit, in this holy time. We welcome you, Spirit, in this holy time.
And now we move to our time of spiritual reading followed by our meditation. And today, our practitioner of the week, Pat, will be sharing with us.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. I'm going to credit, first off, Father Richard Rohr's October 1st daily meditation that comes out through the Center of Action and Contemplation for much of my reading today. This week, Reverend Rick's topic is the divine community. You might think of that as your spiritual community. All these lovely faces that you see here every Sunday. And that's certainly a divine community. And in our philosophy here, we often discuss our oneness with each other and our connectedness to spirit. Perhaps more than many other faiths, we understand our unification on a deep level. And within that understanding, we know that our homes, our cities, our country, and our world can be blessed even further by cultivating and promoting kindness, tolerance, and compassion, and sending those things out to all those who currently may be coming up a bit short. But today, let's focus on compassion. Sadly, but understandably, the virtue of compassion is more closely associated with Buddhism than Christianity in some people's minds. If we want to change that, we might learn from Buddhist teachers like Jack Kornfield, the Dalai Lama, or Tara Brach, who offer us a broad definition of compassion that we can build upon. Tara writes, "Compassion is our capacity to relate in a tender and sympathetic way to what we perceive. Instead of resisting our feelings of fear, worry, or grief, we embrace our pain and struggles with the kindness of a mother holding a child. Rather than judging or indulging our desire for attention with food or chocolate or whatever it might be, we regard our trials with gentleness and care. Compassion honors our experience. It allows us to be intimate with the life of this moment as it is. Compassion makes our acceptance wholehearted and complete." Compassion means to be with, feel with, and struggle with. Classic texts describe compassion as the quivering of the heart, a visceral tenderness in the face of struggles and suffering. In the Buddhist tradition, one who has realized the fullness of compassion and lives from compassion is called a bodhisattva. The bodhisattva's path and teaching say that when we allow our hearts to be touched by our own or another's struggles, our natural compassion flowers. The bodhisattva's aspiration is a simple and powerful phraseology that goes like this: "May all circumstances serve to awaken your compassion." When we are going through things like a divorce, or we have fear for our child for some reason, maybe we're facing a disease or even death, whatever is happening for us can be a gateway to clear and limitless compassion. Tara also tells us that when we cultivate the tenderness of compassion, we not only stop running from our worries and suffering, but we also deliberately bring our attention to them. Various compassion practices often begin with being aware of our own pain, because once our hearts are tender and open to our own struggles, we can more easily extend this type of human charity to others. This is an extension that would definitely be an asset in our divine communities. When you connect with tenderness by focusing your attention on your Your struggles are the struggles of others. You relate to them with care rather than resistance, with an awakened heart of benevolence. As we practice responding with kindness and tenderness, our hearts can become, as teacher Sharon Salzberg says, as wide as the world. So if we've hurt someone somehow, or we're entangled in guilt and self-criticism, compassion for ourselves allows us to find a wise and healing way to make amends. If we are drowning in sadness, arousing compassion helps us remember the love and connection to spirit we have in our lives. Rather than pushing those things away, we acknowledge them, freeing ourselves with the unconditional lovingness of compassion. Couldn't we all use compassion in our lives? Don't we all know individuals who desperately need it on many levels? And couldn't our world, our biggest divine community, benefit immensely if we all took the time to cultivate compassion for ourselves and for all others? Let's give that a try. Namaste. Moving into our meditation, as you snuggle into your seat and get comfortable, we're going to do a type of metta, as is my tradition a lot of times. This one we're going to take from the Bodhisattva's aspirational phrase, "May all circumstances serve to awaken your compassion." We're going to use that in our meditation today. And because we're going to think about the divine communities that reach out further than right in our homes, we're going to bring in some different people. So I will suggest the images for you to think about, and then I will give you the words. So we take a deep breath. We start our metta this morning as we always start them, with words of faith and love directed to ourselves. So the first image I ask you to bring up is your own image. See that image as you are today, and know that you send it love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude. And wrap that image in all those lovely words and say to it, "May you feel seen and appreciated. May you feel heard and respected. And may all circumstances serve to awaken your compassion." Next, I would ask you to bring forward in your mind an image that is varied, an image of frontline workers, medical workers, grocery store stockers, teachers, fire, police, all those on the front line who have had such a tough past 18 months. And in that large group of deserving people, wrap them in gratitude and love. Wrap them with kindness and appreciation. And say these words. May you feel seen and appreciated. May you feel heard and respected. And may all circumstances serve to awaken your compassion. The next image I ask you to bring up in your mind is the image of our spiritual leaders. Those that are close to you and those across the world who are helping lead others to know the one God and to know their connection to that spirit. Wrap that spirit in love and gratitude, kindness, and say these words. May you feel seen and appreciated. May you feel heard and respected. And may all circumstances serve to awaken your compassion. And as we end our meditation, as we always do, we bring in all beings everywhere because we never want to leave anyone out of any meditation that we do. Our love and gratitude and forgiveness and kindness is for everyone. So imagine people close to you, neighbors, people here in this country, across the world, some just rising this morning and some just going to bed, some living in peace, others in chaos. So spread your mind across that large group of people and send to them words of love and kindness and freedom and hope and so much peace and understanding. And say these words. May you feel seen and appreciated. May you feel heard and respected. And may all circumstances serve to awaken your compassion. And as you go through this week, you can say these words at any time for anyone, because your divine community, as large or as big as it might be, can use more compassion. Namaste. So it is. Reverend Rick.
Thank you, Pat. And now we will move to our special music, and today that is the Playing for Change Band singing One Love.
People get ready. All you need is faith. So people get ready. We gonna make it as the human race. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. People get ready. There's a train coming. Don't need no baggage. You just get on board. All you need is faith to hear the diesel humming. Don't need no ticket. You just thank the Lord. Yeah. One love, one heart.
train a-comin', picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key, open the doors and board them. Don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. Yeah, one love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Everybody sing it. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright.
Let's get together and feel all right. Do you enjoy being part of a spiritual community and feeling that shared energy? Do you believe that we're all connected as one human race? Our theme for this month is going further together. Remember that for this entire year, it's that image of climbing a mountain. And when we reach the top of the mountain, that will be the end of the year in December. So today in October, welcome to October. We're talking about this whole month, how we can go further together. Now there's an African proverb that reminds us, alone we can go faster, but together we can go further. Now, I bet some of you have had the experience I've had where I was working with a group and that thought came to my mind, you know, I could do this so much faster on my own. Have you had that thought? But I've also learned that when I'm working with a group, there are a lot more ideas that come forth, a lot more possibilities that are shared that I wouldn't have thought of on my own. But humanity as a whole has been taught to see ourselves as separate individuals. And there are many people that hold a belief that there are limited resources and that we better fight to get everything we can or else we'll be left out. You see, I think the whole human race has come to a place where they want to master all of nature. They want to control the whole environment around them. What if we were change agents? What if we changed that story, that paradigm? And instead of looking at ourselves, the world and all people, as separate, what if we looked at ourselves, the world and all people, as interconnected? Well, that's the talk today, the divine community. Scientists have learned that on a subatomic level, atoms act differently when they're observed, when they are left on their own. And scientists have also found that a change in atoms in one place can affect a change in atoms somewhere else that is not even connected. It's called the non-local effect. Now, this is the amazing world of quantum physics. You might think, well, okay, but that doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect my life. Well, yes, it might well affect your life. You see, the most precise clocks in the world are atomic clocks. They're able to use the principles of a quantum theory to measure time. They monitor the specific radiation frequency needed to make electrons jump from one energy level to another. These supersensitive atomic clocks also help with GPS navigation, with telecommunications, and with surveying equipment. Now, can you see that all of us benefit from the world of quantum physics? Cell phones, GPS navigation, those are just a few of the ways that we use the information in quantum physics to improve our lives. The quantum world is also the basis of our belief in spiritual mind treatment. Now, you may not have considered it in this way, but when we treat for someone, we don't have to be in the same location as that person to have our prayer make an effect on that other individual. We know that our consciousness changing can create a change in that other person, whether we're with them or a world apart. That's the non-local effect that I spoke of earlier. It's a change through this quantum world. Now, some religions hold that people need to be together for that sky god to flow through them and to the person that they're praying for. I bet many of us have seen those faith healers on TV, and they're channeling, so to speak, spirit, and they will be praying, and they have the person come forward, they put their hands on them, and the person falls out, and they receive their healing. Well, of course this can work, because it's done as we believe. So how are you believing? What are you believing? In Science of Mind, we know that God is everywhere present. Everywhere. Omnipresent. And as we're looking at that, we recognize our interconnectedness and the power that we have. I read a story on Facebook this week. It was talking about a woman who was riding a city bus. And on the bus, she was sitting there, and this very tall man, 5'6" tall man, came on the bus. He started having a little bit of what you might call mental illness or mental, I'm looking for the word here, mental health issue, we'll say. He was getting very agitated. And obviously there was no reason that she could see he would be getting agitated, but he started yelling out on the bus. He started cursing. And this woman, what she did was simply reach out her hand to him. She didn't even look at him, she just reached in his direction. And he took her hand. She didn't speak to him. She only held his hand and was breathing calmly. The man calmed down. Later, fellow passengers asked her what she did. And she said, well, I just responded like a mom. He just needed to be loved. So you see, even small acts can have big effects on us. We're the ones who get to change that paradigm of we're all separate from everyone and all of nature to the new paradigm of we're all interconnected with all people and all of nature. Have you thought about when you talk to your plants lovingly, they respond and will grow bigger? They'll grow stronger. If you've not seen this, I encourage you to go on YouTube and look for the rice experiments, R-I-C-E, rice experiments. This is where a person takes fluffy cooked white rice. They put it into 3 separate containers. And the first container, they label with hateful words on it. The second container, they put no words on it and set it off by itself. The third container, they label with words of love and compassion. Every day, the experimenter goes to the first container, picks it up, and repeats those hateful words. How horrible! How much they hate this rice in this container. Then they move past the second container, ignoring it. The third container, they pick up and they speak their words of love, their words of compassion and caring. And they put that down. They do this every day for 2 weeks. At the end of the time, the contents of the containers are then observed. And what they find is the first container, where they spoke the words of hate, the rice had turned black and started shriveling up. The second container, the one that was ignored and not spoken to, the rice had turned dark brown and began getting very sticky. The third container, the one that they spoke to with love and compassion, that rice is still fluffy and white. You see, our words, our actions have power. How are you speaking to yourself and to those that you meet each day? We are powerful beings. Do we accept this fact? And do we use our power intentionally for good? Now, you might be thinking, well, what does this have to do with the divine community? And I would tell you, this is how we go further together. When we come together as a spiritual community, we encourage each other to live our highest life, to be our best self, to rise up, to embrace the power of spirit that is within us. If someone's down and discouraged and depressed, by coming into community with others, the energy of that community lifts them to a higher vibration. I can own that I personally have had that experience more than once in my life, where I was feeling down, feeling like everything was against me, feeling sorry for myself, basically. It's at those kinds of times that Tom, my husband, will say, "Well, you don't sound very science of mindy." Well, that always brings a smile to me. And I remember that I'm part of a larger community. And I get encouraged to get off my pity pot and remind myself that I am the one that needs to focus on the good around me. I start making a gratitude list, and the energy of my entire body changes. Change your thinking, and you change your life. Another benefit of the divine community, of working together in community, is that we can accomplish things much quicker. Here's a story to illustrate that. There was a seminar where there were 200 participants, and the speaker at one point told them that they were going to do an activity. So he had balloons passed out to each person, and they were asked to write their name on the balloon. Then the balloons were collected. They were put into a smaller room, and the participants were told that they had 2 minutes to go into the room and find their balloon, the one with their name on it. Well, it was chaos. People were searching frantically for their balloons. They were pushing each other around. They'd pick up a balloon, look at it, and then toss it aside. At the end of 2 minutes, the speaker called time and asked everyone to come out of the room. Nobody had found the balloon with their name on it. So the speaker said, "Now we're going to try this a little different. I want each person to go into the room and pick up a balloon at random and return it to the owner, the person whose name is on it." That time, when they did the experiment, within minutes, everyone had their own balloon back. So to me, this story illustrates that importance of working together in community. It doesn't matter if we're working with our spiritual community here, or people in our neighborhood community, people at work, or even working with people that you're shopping with. When we work together, we create a new paradigm in life, a paradigm that says we need to live from our interconnectedness, and we are all interconnected. Brené Brown says, "A deep sense of love and belonging is an irreducible need of all people. We are biologically cognitively, physically, and spiritually wired to love, to be love, and to belong. Each one of us wants to feel the connection of this spiritual community. And that is my prayer for each of us, that we'll know that this is a safe place for us, and that we can feel that energy of spirit that lifts us up. Ernest Holmes, in his book, Ideas of Power, wrote, "Love is the greatest healing power in the universe, and the only thing that binds people together in a community of spirit." You see, it was Ernest's deep belief that love alone could heal the world. Love is the greatest healing power in the universe. So if we know that, and we know the power of our words, are we living a life that shares unconditional love from that very core of our being? That's the divine nature that's in each and every one of us. In the Science of Mind textbook, the glossary defines love as the self-givingness of spirit through the desire of life to express itself in terms of creation. So I ask, what is love creating through you? How is your life different when you allow love to flow through? Emerson tells us that love is a synonym for God. And the New Testament says, "He that loveth not, knoweth not God, for God is love." So the divine community here is a place we're encouraged to share from our deep inner self that unconditional love of spirit that's at the core of each and every one. And by joining together, by lighting our lights and joining that light together, we encourage each other. We raise the vibration of our lives, and we brighten the way we shine in the world. This is our true nature. When you see someone in need of assistance, do you turn and run the other way? Or do you hurry over to help? If you're walking with someone and they start to fall, don't you instinctively reach out to help them? That's our true nature, to help, to share, and to show love. I have a friend in Colorado who has beehives. And the other day, he was talking about his granddaughter who had come to visit. And he had just collected the honey from the hives. He showed her this big bucket of honey because he was very proud of what he had gotten that day. And on top of the honey were 3 bees that were swimming around. His granddaughter was so concerned. She wanted to free the bees. And Grandpa said, well, once they get covered in honey like that, they're going to die. They can't really get that off of themselves. But she wanted to help. She ran in the house and she got an empty cottage cheese carton. She scooped out the 3 bees and put them in the cottage cheese carton. Now, because he had disturbed the hive by getting the honey out, there were still bees flying around. And so she set the cottage cheese carton near the hive. You see, nature is programmed to help each other. And bees started flying into that cottage cheese carton. They started cleaning the 3 bees that were covered in honey. And they were in and out and in and out. And the little girl kept going back and forth watching. One bee had gotten cleaned up and flew away. Later on, 2 of them were gone. By the end of the day, all 3 bees had been cleaned by the other bees, and they had all flown away. Don't let your mind tell you that we're all separate from everyone else. That's not the truth. We're all interconnected. And this connection creates the most amazing experiences in life. These amazing experiences are spirit, expressing and creating through our lives? Do we allow Spirit to create and to love through us? That's what we're doing as spiritual beings. And that's what we encourage each other to do. Mark Nepo, in his book of Awakening, gave us a visual. Remember when I shared our welcome this morning and I said the graphic that showed the wheel or the spokes like? Well, that's what Mark Nepo talked about in his book, that there's this infinite wheel of life. And on the outside of that wheel, the edge of the wheel is where we really live. And that's where we show up as our unique selves. We've each taken a different spoke on that wheel. And the wheel of life needs all of those spokes to hold it in place. But when we turn and we look down the spoke where we came from, back toward the center, where the hub of the wheel is, that hub is the one center where all souls meet. Mark says, I live out of my uniqueness, but when I dare to look into the core, I come upon the one common center where all begin and live. In that center, we're all the same. He talks about how mysteriously and powerfully, when we can look deep into another person, we find ourselves. And he says, when you dare to hear my fear in the recesses of your heart, you recognize that it is the secret that you thought no one else knew about you. And that unexpected wholeness that's more than each of us, but common to all, that moment of unity is the atom of God. I love that. The atom of God. The Spirit that is our nature and that's within each and every one of us. That's the quantum world that I was talking about earlier. The quantum world of science that's discovering that interconnectedness, even to the subatomic levels. It's all God, but are we recognizing that? Are we owning that and living from that mindset? That if it's all God and we are made of God, then we can bring forth that unconditional love of Spirit. And that can heal our lives and heal our world. So your homework for this week is to take a look within yourself, to touch the place of love, and then share that with at least one person this week. Share your love. Now that might look like reaching out and touching someone, like the woman on the bus, taking the hand of this gentleman that was having his mental health moment. Love might be sharing a smile with someone. It might be offering a kind word to someone you're moving past, or a pat on the back to someone who's working with you, a word of thanks. Maybe love is sharing some big task that someone needs help in doing. It can look so many different ways. Know that whatever you do, it does make a difference in the world. Let us pray. We breathe in this message, knowing that love is everywhere, for love is God, and God is present everywhere. Thank you, Spirit. Help us to keep our hearts and our minds open, that we can allow that unconditional love that flows to us to flow through us and out into the world that needs to feel validated and loved and cared for. A world that is looking for connection. a world that sees abundance instead of lack. Help us to be that voice of love, that voice of peace, that voice of hope that all people can feel. The higher vibration of living in community, of moving further by sharing with each other. Our resources are abundant because all we have comes from the infinite Spirit. So with great gratitude, I release my word, and we seal it by saying together, and so it is. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you, Reverend Rick. We move now into a time of prosperity, and I want to always take this opportunity to thank you for your generous support. We couldn't be here without you. There is in the chat your new prosperity affirmation for the month. This is our way to change it monthly with our music. So I'll say it once, and then you can say it with me the second time. The love and light of Spirit radiates peace, prosperity, and happiness in my life. Yes, join me. The love and light of Spirit radiates peace, prosperity, and happiness in my life. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
So I bless this offering, and I bless each person, knowing that as we give, we also receive, activating that law of circulation. Thank you, Spirit, for the abundance of each one of our lives and for the ability to share that. I bless the Louisville Center for Spiritual Living and the outreach of love and compassion that we share with the world. Thank you, God. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you. And now we move on to announcements. And briefly, I'm going to share with you the reason we are calling ourselves practitioners of the week as opposed to practitioners of the day, because it occurred to all of us that it's not just one day and we're done. It's a daily thing. All week long we do it. Actually, we're probably POMs. We're practitioners of the month, and POIs, practitioners of the year, because we never cease to do our thing. And POW just sort of fits the way we work for you. And all week long, I will be doing my thing. And then next week, you'll have a new practitioner who will carry you into her week, and so on and so forth. So we just wanted you to know, if you see POW instead of POD, that is the reason, because you're never by yourself.
Awesome.
Okay, next, this coming Wednesday, October 6th, 7 p.m. is another First Wednesday Spiritual Connection time. And it's same Zoom link that you got here. And Reverend Rick will have a subject matter. I don't know if he has one in mind yet or not. But
I'm still playing with a couple ideas, so.
Okay.
To be determined.
And that's the great thing about this Wednesday night thing. It's very unstructured, and so we can be very flexible with what we do and share. So join us at that time if you can. Next, we want to remind you, oh no, we don't want to remind you, we want to tell you, I have a men's group. Okay, never mind, I'm going to shift gears here. Men's group is October the 7th, and it's at 6:30. Same Zoom link if you're a guy, and join them. I don't know what they do. One of these days I'm going to disguise myself and sneak in and see. But But it's a men's group, and I bet they have a very nice time together. So if you're so inclined and you male, join them, 6:30. All right. This is the new book study. I think we're going to call it a book discussion because it's going to be a little bit different than what we usually do, a little bit different than the class.
Nice
You don't
slide.
even, I'm sorry? It's a $50 suggested love offering, and it's going to be 5 weeks where Reverend Rick is going to share this book. You don't even have to buy the book because he's going to share it as we go. So this will be a great thing if time has been a constraint. It'll last about an hour, hour and 15 minutes. Reverend Rick, you want to say more about that?
This is, some people may consider it a children's book, but it's following a spiritual path. And so I think you will enjoy it. The knight is moving through different castles on his path to find the truth and find his truth. And each week will have different stops along there and ideas that we'll discuss as a group. So that's why I'm calling it a book discussion, because I'm going to start by reading a portion of the story to you or giving you that overview, and then we're going to discuss a few of the spiritual practices or spiritual truths that we find in that part of the story. So it will be 5 weeks, and I think you will really enjoy how you can relate to it.
Very good. I think it'll be very good for those who have felt they didn't have time for homework or things like that with a full-blown class. So I'm looking forward to it. And before I tell you how magnificent you are, Vicki, you had something?
Thank you, Pat. I was so excited about this book study that I was commenting how fabulous that slide is. I mean, some of you guys might have heard my voice there, and I apologize for that. I have a special announcement. I'm so excited. If you guys might check on the Louisville Center for Spiritual Living Facebook page, I posted this morning that Reverend Dr. Jesse Jennings, who does the question and answer column in the Science of Mind magazine, has published a book of his very best of those Q&As over 30 years. And it's called More Than We Seem. It was just released. And so if you have been served by that portion of the Science Mind magazine, or you haven't exactly been able to tap into there, getting a collection of that work, I'm going to be recommending it to the entire world. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys are some of the first to hear about that. So just check the Facebook page and you'll see the post. Thank you, Pat.
You're very welcome. And I would encourage you, I always, as long as I've been doing this, I always learn from everything I read that Jesse writes. He has a marvelous way of breaking some very complicated sounding principles down to real life verbiage. So if you can get a copy, I would encourage you to do it. All right, that brings us to where we are right now. And I just want you to remember, as you leave here today and all week long until you get here next week and we can remind you again, you are magnificent. Yes. There you go.
Thank you, Pat. And now our closing song. This is a song written by Alicia Keys, and this version is performed by the One Voice Children's Choir. And the song is called Good Job.
You're the engine that makes all things go, and you're always in disguise, my hero. I see your light in the dark, Smile on my face when we all know it's hard. There's no way to ever pay you back. Bless your heart, know I love you for that. Honest and selfless. I don't know if this helps it, but good job. You're doing a good job, a good job. You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter, 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 yeah. You're doing a good job, a good job. You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter, 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 yeah.
6 in the morning. As soon as you walk through that door, everyone needs you again. The world's out of order. It's not a sound when you're not around.
All day on your feet, hard to keep that energy. I know when it feels like the end of the road, you don't let go, you just press forward. You're the engine that makes all things go, go. Always in disguise, my hero. I see a light in the dark. Smile in my face when we all know it's hard. There's no way to ever pay you back. Bless your heart, know I love you for that. Honest and selfless. I don't know if this helps it, but
Good job. You're doing a good job, a good job.
good job.
You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter, matter, matter.
Good job. You're doing a good job, a good job. You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter, 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 yeah. The mothers, the fathers, the teachers that reach us, strangers to friends that show up in the end. From the bottom to the top, the listeners that hear us, this is for you. You make me feel it. You're doing a good job, a good job. You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter.
Thank you so much to our first responders, our healthcare workers, our mothers.
Thank you to our moms and our dads. Thank you to our teachers who've helped us.
We know it's been hard, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
And now for our benediction. Know that what you do does matter, that how you live your life makes a difference in the world. People are watching, whether you know it or not. Your life touches so many in different ways. And so I bless each and every one of us as we move out into the world this week to share from that unconditional love that flows to us so freely from the God of our understanding. Allow that love to flow forth into the world, making a difference, and know you are doing a good job. My blessings to you, and so it is.